Hello, this is Kate from dailytarotgirl.com, and this is your weekly tarot card, or actually oracle card reading. And for this reading, I'm using my Goddess Guidance oracle cards. For some reason, as soon as I woke up this morning and started to prepare for this reading, this deck really strongly called out to me, and I don't always get that. Sometimes I have to kind of think for a while what deck I'm going to use, but this deck was very insistent that it be the deck that I use today. So here I am using it. Okay. So I've drawn 3 cards. Each card is going to represent a portion of the upcoming week. And let's start with the first card, which is going to be Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so here we've got Isis. Isis is about past lives, and the message on this card says, this situation involves your past life memories. So the beginning of the week is a time to kind of be aware of perhaps you might find yourself being really triggered by something or feeling, very strongly about something. And this might be a person feeling strongly towards another person, whether that's a positive or a negative feeling, or feeling really drawn to do something, or just, I think feeling really triggered is probably the most common thing that you're going to be feeling. And be really vigilant and keep in mind that your triggeredness and your strong feelings could have, this card is suggesting a basis in a past life. So it could be a past life, or it could be something from your past, like past life as in something in within this lifetime, but from another portion of your life or another phase of your life in your past somewhere that you've kind of buried and forgotten about and haven't dealt with. And I think this really actually speaks to cycles and how we go through these cycles of having particular challenges and dealing with things, and we have certain things that we're focusing on in each kind of cycle of our life. And if we don't quite get it right that time around, if there's still kind of loose ends, then later cycle, maybe not the next cycle, but later on down the road, could be 10, 20 years down the road, or a couple years down the road, we will find ourselves kind of presented with those same challenges again, but maybe in a different, slightly different form, a different costume. And it's up to us to kind of deal with this the proper way, or find some kind of healing, or kind of transcend above the challenges so that they don't keep showing up again and again and again. So I feel like that is what this card is kind of telling us, is that any challenges that come to a head in the beginning of the week are probably familiar challenges that you've had before. So think about how you dealt with them before and whether that worked or not. And if it didn't work, see if you can find a totally different way of approaching this challenge that's coming up for you. Okay, so moving on to the middle of the week, Wednesday and Thursday. Oh, it's so funny. I always get this card when I do readings with this deck. It's funny. Okay, so we have Artemis, and she is seen as a guardian. And Artemis is seen actually as, she's kind of like a tomboy in a way, like in Greek mythology. She's also known as, there's another word for her. Is it Diana? It might be Diana. I can't remember. I know there's a Greek name for her and a Roman name, and I think Artemis is her Greek name. Anyways, she's kind of like a tomboy, and she was actually very independent, and she was kind of, I believe she was a virgin, and that wasn't so much necessarily like a literal virgin as in she didn't have sex. It was more that she was a woman unto herself. So she was very independent and was very, very powerful, and didn't depend on, another person. That was kind of what the deeper meaning of that word virgin was, as a woman unto herself. So she wasn't married or, owned by another man. or by a man. And so she was this interesting figure. Actually, she's probably one of my favorite goddesses in Greek mythology. And the message on this card says, you and your loved ones are safe and spiritually protected. She was a really fierce warrior, and she was seen as like a guardian of nature and animals. And another name for her, I think, is Diana, goddess of the hunt. But she was seen as kind of protecting animals and nature. But I wonder why she was called the goddess of the hunt. I'm going to have to look into this because it's been a long time since I was into Greek mythology, so I'm going to have to brush up on it. I may be not correct in some of the things I just said. Okay, so what this means for us, I think, is it's important. I feel like this card is about feeling safe, and it's important this week to really get to a place where you can feel safe. So I'm going to turn over the next card because I want to see what this one is, and I'm going to come back to this one. Go outside. Okay. So whether you are wanting to express yourself more, whether you're creating something, whether you're wanting to communicate with someone better, or simply do something that you haven't done before. So maybe you're going on an adventure, or maybe you're, challenging yourself in some way, or stepping into a new role at work. Regardless of what it is that you're doing, it's going to be important for you to feel safe, because if you don't feel safe, you're going to feel unsafe. And if you're feeling unsafe, you're going to feel like you're going to be easily triggered. You're going to be defensive. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be contracted. You're not going to be able to connect with people. You're not going to be able to, take in information and interpret it. You're not going to be able to express yourself well. There's so many things that happen when we don't feel safe and when we're feeling in that kind of defensive, contractive place. So it's really important this week to be able to feel safe. And that's, of course, easier said than done, but there's certain things that will help you to feel safe. So now that I say that, I'm trying to think what helps me feel safe. I think sometimes just having this belief or revisiting the idea that that we are okay as we are, and no matter what's going on right now, no matter what is happening, we're okay. We don't need to be better or be different. And I think that's an important thing to remember, is that we are okay as we are right now. And I think when you really get that and get that understanding, you begin to feel a little bit safer in your environment, and you begin to have a little more self-compassion and more confidence as you move forward. So moving on to the next card, Cordelia. This card says go outside, and this is the weekend card. So I think the message is pretty strong, pretty clear that this weekend is a time to go outside. And the card says, you have been indoors too long, go outside and get some fresh air. There's something that happens when we step outside. I think the energy is different. It's more powerful. There's, it depends where you live too and what your surroundings are like, but I feel like, especially if you go somewhere where there's like trees and nature and stuff like that, I feel like there's so much cleansing that happens. And I think we forget that and we take that for granted because it seems like such an ordinary thing that we do every day. We go outside, unless you live in like a super cold climate and you have a garage where it would be possible to not ever go outside ever. But it's such a like mundane thing that I think so many of us take for granted, and we forget how powerful and healing it can be to get outside in nature, especially like to exercise outside, to go for a run or, walking in the trees. All those activities can actually be very powerful in getting energy moving. So if you felt stuck lately, and certainly if you felt, unsafe or insecure or worried or fearful, it's really helpful to get outside and to get moving. These are things that are going to kind of move that stuck energy and end up being very, very healing. So I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to watch this reading, and I hope you found something in there that was helpful, that resonated with you. And please feel free to share some of your own interpretations, your own ideas that may have come up for you during the reading, and just feel free to share those in the comments below. And have a wonderful week. You can find out more about me and about tarot card reading on my website, dailytarotgirl.com.